My name is Ryan Baker. Born and raised in Connersville. I'm married, have 6 children. Still have 3 that are in the Fayette County School Corporation right now. I own a landscaping / lawn care business here in town. Started back in 2003. That's about it about me, I guess. As far as the school board goes, I just want to see things done in the best interests of our kids. I have a senior right now, and I also have boy-girl twins that are in 8th grade, so they've still got the remainder of middle school and all of high school to go through yet. And I just want to see the right things done. Want to be there to help make those decisions that do the right thing to take care of kids. Well, it's a good question. I think that we're doing a lot of the right things by doing a lot of the things that we're doing in the city. That's not just a teacher thing, but for all employment, trying to make our parks better and our streets better, and just the look of the city better for everyone. I think we draw more people when we do all those things and give people things to do here in town. Just makes it more attractive to everyone. I think, like I said, I think they're on the right track right now with those things. Just need to keep going. Well, you're limited by your funds, so you can only do what you can do. So whatever the case may be, whether we're looking at buildings or plumbing or whatever it happens to be that we're looking at, you're just going to have to, everything's going to have to be weighed at the time. What's it going to cost this way and what's it going to cost the other? You can't live above your means, so I think everything just has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. Oh, well, I hate that we lost the schools that we lost. I think that there's a lot of character that is lost with those schools. I hope that it doesn't have to get to the point where we lose any more. I hate it for the kids that some of them are bused so far and they have to be on buses for so long now. So hopefully we can do the right things to generate the right types of businesses and keep people coming to Connersville and keep enrollment at the schools and not be forced to close anymore. Again, just like repairs and infrastructure and building new and all that kind of thing. You can't live outside your means. We have to do what we can do. So, you'd have to look at any of those things as they came up, but hopefully that doesn't have to happen. That's not something that I would certainly wish to happen. I don't believe there's any particular policies that I would like to see changed. As far as the way I feel about the way the board has run so far, my only concern is that we do things in a political way, and I don't think that that's right. I'm not gonna make any decisions to do things for any type of political reason. My decisions will be made on what's the best for kids and administrators, teachers, that kind of thing. Kids first. I think that there needs to be a lot more accountability in classrooms. As the business owner that I had already said that I was, I've spent some time in some classes out at the high school talking to students, and I've done that for several years. It's really since the first couple of years that I started my business. And when I see the way they conduct themselves sometimes, it's pretty disheartening when you go into a classroom and you're speaking to them and they have earbuds in and seem to come and go as they please and that sort of thing. A bit disrespectful. Certainly wouldn't have been something that they would have allowed when I was in school, and I wish that it wasn't something that was allowed now. So I just think we need students to be accountable for their actions. In closing, I'd just like to say, like I said, I've been a resident of Connersville and Fayette County all of my life. I have 6 kids, only 3 still left in the school corporation. I've seen a lot of things that have been done over the years. See the way things have been done more recently, and I would just like to see a lot more thought go into what is best for our kids. I think there are things that have been done in the last couple of years that are detrimental to our kids, and I think that's the last thing that we want to do. We're supposed to be there to help our kids grow and learn, and that's what I'll be after. Thank you very much.
Well, my name is Sasha Henderson. I am married to Zach Henderson. We have 5 children. They range from 13 to 2. I feel like I would be a good candidate because we have several children in the school system already and 2 more coming in. We get out and we talk to a lot of people so we can get their opinions on things, where it's sports, school, whatever it may be. Well, I feel like a big thing for families are insurance. So I feel like looking at insurance and what they offer right now and seeing what the school system maybe puts in towards it and seeing if we can go from there. Well, it would depend on if it's something like structure or like a gym. I would need to talk to the building crew. Is that Daryl Drew, I think I was told maybe, and see what his thoughts are, see how much money has been poured into it, and look at budget for that, and see if you needed to tear a school down or something, where you would locate it, that type of stuff. No, I do not believe they should reduce schools. Every parent's dream is one-on-one with your child and making sure they have a good education, and fewer students per classroom would allow for that, and teacher stress levels would also lower. No, not right now. There are so many of them. I would need to look at them more closely and talk to people in the community and see what their thoughts are on what would need changed before I would decide something like that. I think that one thing is teachers need to be backed a little more on disciplining kids, so maybe looking at that policy and seeing what we can do so that teachers are able to discipline them how they should. Nothing harsh, but discipline is needed. I feel like I would be a good candidate because I will ask others what their opinions are. I mean, they are voting for me so that I can vote how they would. So I feel like we get out there and we talk to people, and my values are a lot like many people we know, and I just want to be a vote in the right direction for all of them.
My name is Chris Hunt. I am a resident of Fayette County for years. I was born and raised here. I am a retiree from the Indiana State Police, where I served for 34 years as a sergeant. When I retired, I had left it with the cyber crimes unit with the Indiana State Police, which I can say, as far as units in all the states, Indiana is one of the best in the country because of the manpower that they currently have now. I've been a candidate on the Fayette County School Board since 2013. I've gained valuable experience looking at the needs of our children, parents, taxpayers. With me as a candidate, we've had a lot of unfortunate things going on this past year, particularly with COVID. But I want the Fayette County citizens to know, with my candidacy, there will be no to mandatory masking. To me, that has to be a decision between a parent and the child. They know more about the child than the government does. I am against any more mandatory school closings. As you can see, what we've heard recently in the news media, I've heard some estimations that our students are probably now a decade behind in reading whatever because of being away from a school setting. So that is one thing that you will get with me as a definitely no. And parents, I encourage any Fayette County resident, if they have any issues with the school board, come to the meetings, and I can guarantee you will not be looked at as terrorists, domestic terrorists, as some have said against parents speaking out at meetings. So that's what you get in a package with Chris Hunt. Oh, that is a tough question. We here in Fayette County, and I'm proud of superintendents, school board members from the past, have left Fayette County in a very good financial situation. And it's just a matter of getting the word out. What a wonderful community this is, by going to pushing to go to more job fairs, particularly at colleges. I mean, this is a problem all over the United States, but we just have to push that envelope and tell citizens what a wonderful place it is to raise children here, the tax rate, et cetera. But we just have to get out there. We've just got to create an environment that's more pleasing to this area, and we just have to go out and find. We have to go out and recruit teachers to come into this. We just have to put more of an effort into that. It's a very good question. As probably most of you know who's been watching the school board the last several months, we've had an architectural Gibraltar come in, and they have went an inch by inch inspection of all of our school buildings here in Fayette County. And with that, they've been with administration, they've been with teachers to find out what their answers could be as far as our structures. We have found out through Gibraltar, we have some very old systems. We have air handling systems that we've had for 40 years that were only built to go for 20. Most of our buildings do not have proper sprinkler systems, et cetera. So what we're having to do is prioritize what we can get done now, the most important things now, and then work on the future through bond issues, et cetera, through moving money around, but basically using taxpayer dollars to get the most out of building back up our school systems. And as I said, we've already started that process with Gibraltar, and they've come back with us and gave us some surprising information. I had no idea some of the conditions of the schools, and particularly air handling equipment, air conditioning, et cetera, boiler systems, chiller systems, and we just have to pick the ones that are in the worst conditions, take care of those, and then prioritize and move down the list and do the most we can with the money we have. I feel, unfortunately, this is a problem all over the United States, all over Indiana, with lower enrollments are just going down. Right now, I think we've done a wonderful job of balancing what we have in our school system right now. There's times where we still try to balance students per classroom, keeping them under that 25 threshold, or however you may think. But it is a problem. When we created the Little Spartans daycare, making it a whole preschool building, to me that was a great accomplishment, utilizing Maplewood, and yet we were able to move our students around to the other buildings, and I personally don't see the need right now to build another school. I think we're handling our school population with our current buildings as best we can. And we need to currently continue to look at that and continually trust our administration. They're doing a wonderful job in balancing classrooms and dealing with the shortages of students, which affects money that the school receives from the state also. But we just have to do the best we can with what we have. Right now, other than the issues we have dealing with the COVID, right now my main policy, and we're creating this as far as the SROs in our school systems. As you can see, unfortunately, I never thought of a time when we would need an SRO in our elementary schools. Sandy Hook, El Valde just changed all of that. So right now I know that Sheriff Laughlin has applied for a grant to put some of law enforcement into our grade schools. We're looking at one officer now sharing responsibilities in Everton and Fayette Central, because those are schools are furthest away. So we're implementing this SRO program. I put priorities in that. Other than the other policies, nothing really jumps out. But I want to make a stronger SRO program and implement it in the school system. Always room for improvement. I wish one need is more teacher pay. I wish there's the various ways that we could look at increasing that pay, because our teachers here in Fayette County do a tremendous job, and their compensation I wish could be better. It's better than some, but I wish we could utilize more assets and working on that. But other than that, dealing with the structures, our bus plan is improving, but those are the things that actually stand out more to me as far as, I feel that the school system, what we have with our administration, with the teachers, are doing a tremendous job here in Fayette County. Folks, with me as your candidate, like I said, you have a candidate you might call me on the conservative side. And as I've stated, we've had some unfortunate things with COVID we still don't have answers for. But I will tell you, man, even if we ever get to the level, I hope we never do, a level of orange level as far as comorbidities, I will not move on my belief that the masking has to be a decision with a parent and a child. I do not like the idea of mandatory. We need to keep these schools open. You will find me with a no answer for every, with school buildings staying open. I truly believe in that, because we have catching up to do. We're looking at our children now. We really don't realize what harm we've done to our children, both academically, psychologically, socially, by closing our schools down for the amount of time that we did. We cannot make that mistake again. Thank you.
Well, I've been born and raised in Fayette County, Connersville, all my life. Been working with the community for years, about all my career, as emergency responder in healthcare, and raised my kids here, and I'm on round 2 raising kids now. I've got some insight on the current youth, and as well as the older generation of youth that we've just raised, as far as what the kids that we had growing up in the past generation and the current generation, what works, what don't work with the kids, and what we need to work on changing. I think we need to have a few more incentives for the teachers, retention incentives, a few more bonuses, things like that. I'm not sure of exactly what's on the current system right now as far as what their incentives are, but I'm sure we can do better with our teachers. I've heard some complaints. The teachers say that we could do better. I think that's something we really need to look at, as far as possibly building new We need to see what we can do with the old structures that can be brought to code feasibly, and versus what the cost would be to bring in new structures. I don't think we need to reduce them any further because that puts a hardship on the teachers, and a lot of that declining is because the teachers have a hardship on them already, and it's caused a strain on the teachers, which causes a strain on the students, which causes a lot more of parents wanting to homeschool their kids. I think we need to address more of mental health in the school system among our kids and staff, and safety and security of the staff and students. Again, I say we have to do with the mental health of the students and staff in the school systems, and I say we could bring some outside mental health workers in, more than what we've already got. I do understand that a few of the schools have some mental health workers in the school systems already, but we need more to work with more of the students and staff to help control a lot of the issues that are going on with the students. I appreciate your vote. I'll do the best I can for the students and staff of Fayette County, and just get out and vote.
Hi, I'm Audra McGuire, and I'm running for the Fayette County School Board in District 3. I was born and raised here in Connersville. I'm a Spartan by heart. I'm also a Grandview Wildcat by heart. My daughter is a 4th grader at Grandview, and the reason I'm running for school board is that she had a really hard 3rd grade year. And I feel that a lot of parents can identify with that. 3rd grade is a very pivotal year for our students. I saw the teachers work so hard to bring her up to grade level, and I saw the struggles they had. And I feel that as a school board member, I can really help bring the teachers the help that they need, whether it's through benefits, additional personnel, pay, things that we can do to make the teachers' lives in the school a much easier life, so that way our students can actually have the best part of their teachers. So I actually had the pleasure of going to the last school board meeting, and I heard a lot of positives about our school board, not only from within or for our school district, not only from within Voices of Fayette County, but from outsiders that were coming in to do jobs as far as like updating the schools. And one thing that I heard over and over again is that we're in a really great position as far as our credit goes and as far as our budgets go. And that's been established for a very long time. I feel that we can use that to help prepare us for better benefits for our teachers. We can look at how we're spending as a whole and see if those funds can be allocated to our teachers, to our support staff. We also need to look at our opening wages. I've heard from several voices of teachers that we have great student teachers coming in, but they choose to go elsewhere just because of that starting wage. So I think that although we're in a really great place, we have a lot of growth and we can be very competitive, but it might take a deep dive and looking at things that are very uncomfortable to put us in a better position for our students, our support staff, and our teachers. So at the last school board, we actually got to hear a really cool presentation from a company that has gone into our schools here recently, looked at the infrastructure, spoken to the teachers. And one of the things that I found was really interesting is that one of the areas that we're lagging is just we don't have enough plugins for the technology that our students are using. And that's not something that I ever would have thought would be an issue. I mean, a plug-in is something simple, right? We also heard the school board adjusting and pivoting on the school board or the school bus funds. I think that as our buildings age, we're going to have to look at possibly building additional new elementary schools or taking some hard looks, again, that could be very uncomfortable. I know that our communities are all tied to their schools, their elementary schools, to the junior high, to the Spartan Bowl, to the high school. And if we need to, reallocate funds, again, to the schools, to the aging infrastructure, those are going to be the hard decisions that just have to be made. That's a hard question, just because I just know that parents and students are tied to their schools. I'm a Wildcat, Grandview Wildcat. I went there kindergarten through 6th grade. I know some very dear friends that were Blue Arrows. They went to Alquina all 7 years, kindergarten through 6th grade. and their hearts were broken when their schools were taken away from them. I think that what we've done so far with making Maplewood a preschool school is a great way of changing direction and pivoting. And if we have to look at, possibly making a K through 2 school or a 4-5 school, or even, a 5-6 school, and then going into the junior high to be able to move the students around and have them and continue to use our schools as we need to, I think that would be a great idea. But I, like I said, there's just a lot of hard decisions that have to be made, and sometimes it's hard to not vote with your heart. So at this time, I can't think of any policies that I would like to change. I know that there have been parents that have vocalized that they don't feel heard. So possibly we could implement a way to address the concerns that are brought up at the school board meetings, rather than just acknowledging the conversations have been taking place, but maybe a more formal follow-up. I think a big place that we can make improvement is definitely in our teacher retention. And like I mentioned before, we might have to make those hard looks at our budgets and find places to reallocate the funds. We definitely have to keep the students, or keep the teachers that we have. We have to bring in fresh faces. And, just like technology, the way teachers teach and the fundamentals that they have change at this huge rapid pace. I recently had a parent-teacher conference with my daughter's teacher, and a few things that he said, I felt like saying, oh, no, that's not right. But I have to remember that it is right. It's just that the way that, I was taught, or the way that I was sitting in a classroom is different. And so as, the style of teaching changes, we just have to keep bringing in those fresh faces and make them feel valued. So definitely being able to keep teachers is something that's high on my list. I'm just really invested. I love Fayette County. I love Connersville. I see our teachers and our students, and I see the love that they have for I see the love that the teachers not only have for their students, but for their coworkers and for their buildings. And I know that we can do better for them. So my main purpose for being on the school board, not only to help bring a fresh face and a positive, face into the school board, is to just definitely see what we can do for the teachers and make their life a little bit easier in the classroom. But thank you. I would greatly appreciate your vote.
My name is Darren Price. I work at Kroger here in town. My wife is Teresa. We've been married for 32 years. I have 7 kids. I think that I would be an asset to our school board with my years of kids going through school, knowing the school system. I'm a 85 graduate of Connersville High School, and look to just help our schools move forward into the next few years. That is an excellent question, and we face that a lot here in town with employee shortages. I think retaining teachers with pay is one way to do it. I think we have to look at keeping class sizes manageable so teachers aren't overworked. I know we have a shortage of teaching assistants and classroom helpers. And reaching out to the community to see if we can find some more of those folks is definitely something that we can do. I think that as far as competing with other districts, I think we have to look at our community to help entice some teachers to come or to stay. Just our cost of living and the community feeling here in Connersville, I think, is definitely an asset for us. That is something that actually I have been very concerned about. I went to Grandview, and I know the older part of Grandview is between 60 and 70 years old. While our buildings have been well maintained, trying to utilize the buildings with the new technology, upgrading electric service, and things like that for all the technology is very challenging. My thought would be that if a building becomes cost prohibitive to continue to upgrade a building, that we would definitely look at building a new building to be able to fit everything that's required into the services and technology needs for our schools. I think that we're in a good spot right now as far as the number of buildings that we have. We have definitely had some investment in the community, hoping to bring more folks into town, and hopefully then increasing our enrollment across the county. I think that closing a building at this point would put a bit of stress on our transportation system. Kids being on a bus entirely too long, some of them are on the bus entirely too long now, and that could make some of those kids be on buses an hour, hour and a half, getting to school and getting home. So I think closing a building would definitely be a last ditch effort. In the research I've done, I don't think there's any that would just jump out at me from an immediate standpoint. Getting into the job and learning some more about some of the things that go on, I would definitely be open to looking to try to change or improve policies. I know much of what we do as a board is through state mandates, but we could talk with our legislators, and see if we can make changes that way. Again, I think one of our biggest things is our infrastructure, and with the studies that are being done currently, being presented bits at a time at the school board meetings, the board will have a lot of information to look over, to make priorities out of, and continue to work to improve our buildings and our ability to keep our kids engaged and educated. I think that being on the school board is a responsibility, just like any other civic duty that someone undertakes. It's not to be taken lightly. It's the education of our children. It's the future of our community and our county, and we have to start from kindergarten on, even preschool, and make sure that we are preparing our children for what lies ahead.
My name's Ron Snyder. I've been in Fayette County since 1968. I graduated from Connersville High School. Actually, I was in Fayette County since 1974, I'm sorry. I graduated from Connersville High School in 1977. I've got 2 children. One is still in school. Both are public school students, or were. My daughter's in 10th grade, and I'm interested in doing the best job that I can educating her, because we only get one chance to educate our children, and I want to do what I can to get her the best education I possibly can. I think I bring a fresh set of ideas, fresh face. I'm not a politician. I don't think politics should be part of the school corporation. I think I have some ideas what we need from the school corporation to prepare kids for the future because I believe manufacturing is coming back. I think that we need to do a better job preparing kids to fill those jobs. I want to do what I can. I think education is the most important resource that we can produce in Fayette County for jobs in the future. You're going to have to keep up with your neighbors financially. You're going to have to pay teachers enough to retain them once they get here. It needs to be a workplace that they want to be in, that they want to participate in. I also believe that there should be more participation by people leaving industry that have the skill set that they can transfer to young people to help prepare them for the workplace. I believe that those kind of people should be recruited. Vocational positions, science and math positions. I think we have a lot of shortfall in math and science teachers, and I think that people that have worked in industry that maybe want a different something different to do can fill those spots or partner with teachers to help them teach science and English or science and math, because those are the two subjects that are the language of technology, and we got to prepare kids for that. I believe investments should be made with long-term in mind. Instead of putting a Band-Aid on a building and getting a few more years out of it, it may be cost-effective to do away with some of the aged buildings and start from scratch, build new, because there's more cost in maintaining the old buildings over a long period of time than there is if you start with brand new buildings. So I think we should consolidate some of the grade schools. I know that's an unpopular position, and I think that's going to be a difficult thing to do, but we should look at it because we have a shrinking student population, and it may save money in the long run to start over again. I believe that we have more capacity with our existing schools, and they're aging, and maintaining a school that's larger than what you need for the population is not cost effective in my opinion. I would consider consolidating schools so that you have a balance between your infrastructure and your population. I haven't been involved with the school board. I would like to reserve my opinion, reserve the right to answer that question after I get to know what our policies and what actions we can take. I do want to look at, instead of telling children how to think politically, I would prefer the school system be able to tell them how the political system works, let them form their opinions on their own based on their life experiences, instead of having a teacher tell them what to think. I believe it's the child's right to decide politically how they feel and what they think based on their experiences. I believe they should learn how the system works, but not be told how to think. And I want to look at the policies to see if that's being done or if there's an issue there, because I've got feedback from other parents, I've got feedback from some of the children, and I want to investigate that. I think the school system should, as I said earlier, do a better job of preparing students for the future of Fayette County as I see it. I think we're going to see an expansion of manufacturing in the United States. There's no reason why Fayette County shouldn't be included in that expansion. I believe that we should liaison between the vocational school and industry and the high school and industry to look at ways of preparing students that aren't considering college, that aren't in the early college program, for them to have a bright future as well as those that are planning on attending college. I believe that the better job we do partnering with industry, the better we can prepare students to fill the jobs in industry. In my work, I train people to work in our facility, and I have as a starting point where the students are when they graduate, what they've acquired through our high school. I believe that partnership needs to be strengthened. I appreciate the opportunity to express my opinions. I respect the voters' right to choose, and I want to be as honest as I can be as far as my opinions are concerned, and let the chips fall where they may. I appreciate your consideration, the opportunity to tell you what I think, and I leave it to the voters to decide who best represents them, and I would be honored to represent them.
I am Melody Wadle Bryson. I'm 63 years old, married, 2 children, 9 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. I'm running for school board because I fully believe that children, they are our future. And I have time to invest into children, and I love children. And I feel like there's some changes that could be made. And I feel like I'm qualified, and I'm very adamant when I believe in something that change can be a good thing. And I'm willing to sacrifice my time, which I've retired in 2009 from Fayette County 911, and I have the time to devote to it. And my interest is children getting a good education. And I feel like we've kind of wandered off from that, and I'd like to be a part of it. That is kind of a hard question. Remaining competitive, I believe teachers have to have the heart for the job, number one. I think that would be a big benefit. Number two, there's a lot of different ways to be competitive. And I'm not a teacher, but I know that there's programs out there, there's grants, there's a lot of assistance that can be obtained. And I think that the state has kicked in quite a bit. And I think we could get a lot of help from the community. I think if everybody pulls together, I think that we could be competitive and get good teachers and pay them what they're worth. Well, at the school board meeting last week, I think it was Monday, I'm not really sure. They had a company come down and they've done inspections on the schools. And as old as our schools are, they're very well maintained. They have been very well taken care of. They're staying on top of the problem. Future problems will arise, and I believe that when those problems arise, that we will have the money for that. We're allocated so much money for the schools, reference funding, and stuff for different programs. And sometimes you just gotta, I think, rob Peter to pay Paul. I think we've had a decline in children attending school. I think parents are doing a lot of homeschooling. I think parochial schools is another choice from some parents. I wouldn't say that they need to downsize, because I don't think that we have the room to downsize, take one school out, combine another. I was in a combined class at one time, and it was really a hard task for everybody to be able to shuttle their kids to Alquina when I should have been going to Eastview. So I think we need to take a long, hard look before we even consider shutting one of the schools down. We have some really good schools. We have some really good teachers. And like I said, again, I think the community and the school board, the parents, I think we can all pull together, and I think we can come through this all together. I don't know all their policies, but I can tell you what my main objective is. My main concern is SRO officers for every school in Fayette County. Child safety has become a very big problem across the United States. Connersville is not elite from these problems. We've had some close calls. I know neighboring counties, they've had problems with these issues. I would like to see safety in all the schools. That's one of the things that I would work for and a change I'd like to see. I think the improvements that need to be made is we need to get back to the core educational classes, such as math, science, reading, history, health. I know that what concerns me, I see a lot of young kids that can't make change. A lot cannot write in cursive. Education has been number one concern, along with safety of the children. And I think that the school board and the school needs to look at the curriculum. We need to get the core classes back and stop trying to push ideas on children and let them be themselves. And there again, the parents need to be proactive and help with their child's education, be more concerned, be more active with the school board and their children. And I just want to see better education, and I'm seeing less on the streets, and that's a concern. I'm a dedicated person to what I believe in, and when I believe in something, I won't back down. My concern is your children, and I will fight for your children. I want you to fight for your children and your grandchildren. I want us all to pull together. We need to attend the school board meetings. We need to call our representatives. If we're not happy with the law that's been passed, we need to be more vocal. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, whatever is not cutting it. So I'm asking all parents and everybody to please, let's all pull together for the future of our children.
My name is Ann Kirshner. I am originally from Northwest Indiana. I have lived in Connersville for approximately the last 38 years. I was employed by the Fayette County School Corporation from 1985 till I sort of retired. After I sort of retired, I substitute taught for another 5 years. I've been very active in the community as a volunteer. I'm on my church board. I was on the Babe Ruth board when it existed. I did a lot of volunteer work with the sports programs. I am the voice of the CMS Junior Spartans during their volleyball, football, basketball, and wrestling and track seasons. I have 2 surviving children, one of whom lives here in town with my three of my grandchildren. My passion was teaching, and I think I can bring that passion for education and for the well-being of the children of Fayette County with me to the board. I have now been on the board for a while, and I've learned a lot about how the system works and what we can and what we can't do, and a lot of what I wish we could do, but we can't. I think we have a very, very good school corporation. We have problems to deal with, but I think we're dealing with them very, very well in the face of some very, very serious challenges that we have here in Fayette County. I think this is a very, very difficult issue. First of all, a lot of attitude towards teachers under previous administrations of the state of Indiana made teaching not an honorable profession any longer. And young people simply did not want to go into it. First of all, the money they had to spend in college to become a teacher was not commensurate with how much they were going to make. The state has now set minimums for us how much we would pay a beginning teacher. This makes it difficult, particularly in a rural area where we are. So we have to show other things that would make this a good place to live. And to that end, Mr. Collins and his administration are actively recruiting young people who have ties to Fayette County. People who have had families there, grandparents, cousins, some people that are familiar with the area and familiar with the culture. And I think this has helped us a great deal to find viable candidates for our positions. We have to show, and I think we do a good job, that Connersville is a good place to live. It's very close to Dayton, it's very close to Indianapolis, it's very close to Cincinnati. So if you want the more urban lifestyle or the advantages of an urban community, you've got them, and they're less than an hour away for the most part. You have the advantages of living in a smaller community where people care about one another. We have parks, we have a lot of religious affiliations, we have things to do if you want to volunteer and get involved in the community. And I think a lot of young people should be attracted to this because they may not want that urban lifestyle for their children. We've been very, very, very fortunate this year in hiring Andrea Van Meter, who was Andrea King. She got her administrative license. She was working elsewhere, and she wanted to come back to Fayette County. She wanted to come back to Connersville to teach. And we had a position open, and we were fortunate enough to get her. Mallory Cameron, who's also our new head of the Little Spartan Preschool, is another native Fayette Countian who taught elsewhere, and when a position came open, she came back home. So I think that the things that we're doing to encourage people from this vicinity to come back here to teach if they've been someplace else, I think we're doing a very, very good job of that. Retaining them, that's always an issue because of our financial constraints. I think we do a pretty good job with that, but I think the quality of life that people can have living here in Fayette County is one of those intangibles that makes this a very attractive place to teach. And the fact that we have a very supportive administration, and from the last reports we had, the school climate in every one of our schools is excellent, despite some problems with our infrastructure. We are very fortunate this year. We hired a company named Gibraltar, and they have come in and given us a wealth of information about our aging infrastructure. These are things we did not necessarily know. They dug very, very deeply, and at the last board meeting, they presented a plan for the infrastructure of the various buildings and what needs to be fixed first, what we can put off for a while. We are very blessed that we've had some aging infrastructure that is way beyond its shelf life and still working. But this is a challenge because there are a lot of emotional ties to the school buildings. You know, Sam Harvey on his basketball, Grandview School. He's an alumni of Grandview School. He's very proud of that. Grandview School is 60-some years old, so it's not a new building. The people that graduated from Fayette Central when it was a high school love the idea of seeing it out there still. It's presenting some challenges, but I think now we have a better plan available to us to prioritize. This is what needs to get done now before it really gets bad. And we have a limited budget, and we can make better plans for the future and try to avoid some of the major disasters that could be lurking down the road, because we can attack some of these existing problems before they get out of hand. Down the road, don't know what's going to happen. We have a lessening school population. Consolidation is always difficult. Closing schools is always difficult. And it's hard to foretell what's going to happen down the road. But I think we have an adequate plan in place now through the information that we've got from Gibraltar, and then it's up to the board to try to prioritize what we need to do, when we need to do it, and how we can spend our money most judiciously. Hopefully we've reached kind of an equilibrium. I think the idea that bigger is necessarily better is not necessarily true, particularly at the elementary school level. We do not have any plans in foreseeable plans to close another elementary school. Now, that's not to say that we might have to shift some students from one school to another, because the population demographics have changed in different parts of town. The rural schools, perhaps we're going to have to put more children that live closer to town, bus them out to the rural schools to try to keep them as equal as possible. All rural school districts are facing the same kinds of things. The population of Connersville and Fayette County has decreased. The number of students has decreased. Connersville's changed. We simply do not have the manufacturing base, the big manufacturing base that we've had in the past, and that's had a negative impact on the school population. We're not the only people in this situation. Right now, I don't see in the near future, at least, the necessity for closing any of the elementary schools. They do a good job creating a home-like atmosphere, and I think that's a very important part of the elementary experience. And to absorb all of those children, to close a school and absorb all the children into another facility could really upset that balance. And I hope we don't have to do that in the near future, and I don't really foresee it. Board policies are really kind of tricky. I've been on the policy committee, and a lot of board policies are really dictated by federal law and by changes in state law. We have to adapt some of the things that we do in order to meet the requirements of the state and of the federal government in order to receive funds. The state legislature sometimes tells us what we can do as far as policies. Well, one that comes up frequently, and it's very understandable, is that a number of years ago, the state legislature decriminalized what they called status offenses. And status offenses, very simply, are those that can only be committed if you're under the age of 18. Okay? This would be like, for example, skipping school, or smoking, things like that, being incorrigible. In other words, behaving very, very badly. It used to be that these could be considered criminal offenses, and as a result of that, the schools could take drastic action against them. We can't anymore. You know, I've heard, why don't we kick this kid is causing all kinds of problems, why don't we just kick him out? It's not that simple, and it never should have been as simple. Our job as educators is to try to keep kids in school, get them educated, and that necessity has caused us to have to change, in many respects, the way we do things. Instead of being punitive, we try to be restorative. Let's find out why this child is not doing well. Let's see if we can intervene in some way to correct the situation. Sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't. But I think we've made great progress this year with the alternative school, with students that are very highly at risk, with our credit recovery programs that we've had for several years, to try to help these troubled kids who 20 years ago would have been allowed to drop out of school or would have been incarcerated in some way through juvenile detention. We're finding different ways of dealing with them, and our success rate is slowly improving, but I think it's a necessity that we do, because we have to be able to reach these children and that they grow into productive adults. And we need to be restorative, and I think we are, rather than punitive, which we were 20 years ago. But it's hard to understand that, particularly if you've grown up in a classroom where you've had your peers when you were in the classroom acting up horribly, and suddenly they were gone for extended periods of time. We just can't do that anymore. The legislature won't allow it, and I'm not sure it was a good idea to begin with. I think we need more parental input. Lots of people complain about the school, and there's a lot of false information out there. There's a lot that comes out that, well, parents aren't allowed to view the curriculum. Yes, they are. Every time we do a book adoption, which we do by subject matter every year on a 4-year cycle, so the math books last for 4 or 5 years, we always send out information to the parents of the students that are going to be affected and say, would you come in and would you look at these textbooks? Would you give us your opinion on them? We've had committees to do this for years, and it's been extremely difficult to get parents into these meetings to look at these materials prior to the time that they are adopted. There's a lot of misconceptions on what is being taught and how it's being taught. Our curriculum in the Fayette County School Corporation is really set by the state of Indiana. We have a set of standards. Teachers have to have lesson plans that are turned into the administrators. The administrators turn it into the Department of Education. So there's accountability on the part of everyone to be teaching the curriculum and the standards that the state of Indiana says we need to do. I think we need more parental input on that level. We have new textbooks, a new social studies textbook, for example. We're going to adopt a new social studies textbook for the next we're going to use it for the next 4 or 5 years. If you're concerned about what their children are learning in their social studies class, which would be history, geography, etc., volunteer, come in, look at the materials, give your input. So it's not just the teachers or it's not just the administrators that are making the decision. The input of parents is so important because the parents are their children's first teachers. Have your kid get involved in stuff at the Fayette County School Corporation. We have a myriad of things for all ages to get involved with. A child that's more involved in school is going to like it a whole lot better. We need parents to support the kids in that way. I think the climate has been changing, particularly since the pandemic. The pandemic threw everybody for a loop, and right now we're getting the longer term effects of that, and I think this is where the parental piece becomes even more important, because we have children whose problems came to the forefront during the pandemic, whether it be with education, because maybe they're not good online learners. What do we do as parents to help our kids adapt to the electronic media more for learning purposes as opposed to just playing games? Supporting your kids with extracurriculars and things like that, or just having a positive attitude towards school. And I understand how difficult that is for some of our parents, because maybe they didn't have a positive experience at school, and understandably so. I think schools have changed and evolved to meet the needs of the kids better over the years. But help out, volunteer, go in the classrooms, talk to your principals and administrators. It's not some secret world that goes on there. Most teachers I know would welcome parents coming into their classrooms and seeing exactly what's going on. And it's educational, and you see how your own child behaves in a particular classroom, and that's always very interesting to do. We're in a partnership. It takes a village to raise a child. And the school corporation is a big part of that village, but so are the parents. And if we can cooperate and work together, we can make the best educational experience for the children. And that's our goal. That's always our goal, is to give our children the education they need to become successful adults, to be productive citizens, to understand and be able to make good decisions. And those things are difficult to do, but we do absolutely need parental support and come in and talk to your kids' teachers. They'll be glad to talk to you. It's not some secret society that we're running. It's very open and very honest, and we would appreciate more parent input on the building level. If you've got a question, go to the school principal, go to the teacher, talk to the guidance department. It'll make a happier place for everybody. I've been on the school board for quite a while. I've learned an awful lot. I was passionate about teaching. I loved it. If I were a bit younger and less technologically challenged with the teacher shortage, I'd be back in the classroom in a minute because I really loved what I did. I still volunteer a lot. I enjoy that. Education has always been my passion. I've known what I wanted to do since I was 12 years old, and I'm fortunate enough in my adult life to be able to have done that. I will work hard for the students of Fayette County because they're my family. They're my extended family. My children went to school here. My grandchildren are going to school here. I'm invested in the community and I'm invested in them. And being on the Fayette County School Board is another way that I can participate in this investment in this community and its education. Thank you.